Leaders have power. Were you aware of the power that you have as a leader? That's what we're going to dive into today about not avoiding it, not abusing it, but being aware of the power that we have as leaders so that we can help empower and develop other people and create an amazing positive impact in the lives of the people that we lead. Talybra is going to be our guide today, and it promises to be a powerful conversation. Let's dive in. Welcome to the Leadwell podcast, the podcast where we interview mission-driven leaders who are doing it well. We ask them what they're doing and how they're doing it so that you can lead your business and your people well. Our guest today is Talybra Hollins. Talybra works at Allen Austin, a global leadership advisory and executive search firm, where she does organizational consulting, people and talent development, anything and everything having to do with leadership. Outside of that, she is a leader turned nonprofit executive, a board member, and she is here today to talk with us about leading and the power that we have as leaders. Talybra, my dear friend, nobody knows, but this is like a somewhat of a reunion, and I am so glad that you are here, that you are on the podcast, and that you are here to talk about leadership with me. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
All right, so here's what I know is that you are an amazing leader. I've had the privilege of working with you in the same organization. And I know that you are super powerful, kind of tongue in cheek and laying it up there because that's what we're talking about today. We were talking about the power that you, that me, that we kind of all have as leaders. So off of that tee up, tell us a little bit about what you're thinking and what you're finding in leaders and this idea of the power that they have.
Yeah, I think what's really interesting is, we talk a lot about emotional intelligence. And one of those key things and key findings in emotional intelligence is self awareness, right? And I think that sometimes as leaders, we don't want to address what we need to address as leaders to be the best for other people. And while we have good intentions, sometimes there's just things that are just clouded up within us that say, hey, I need to get this checked out and I need to be aware of who I am because it has so much power over the people that we serve, that we love, that we care for every single day. And so, the self awareness component of understanding that because of the power you have in an individual's life is so important right now.
It's huge. Just the other day, I saw that a manager, like our manager at work, has more impact on how well our life goes than a therapist, and oftentimes
Yep.
than other people in our life. Like just how critical this is. And so, you talked about us not necessarily always being aware of some of the power that we might have as leaders. What are some of the ways that we as leaders, managers, kind of influencers over others in our organization, how do we impact others' lives?
Yeah, every interaction has the power, right, to change someone's trajectory. And we don't know what other people are facing, what they're going through, what they're coming in with, what's heavy. We don't know how they feel about their own personal performance sometimes. And when we have an interaction, even something as small, what people would say is small, right, as a good morning or a thank you, has so much power and so much weight. And especially when you're in a leadership position and you have a team, you got to remember that economic power that comes with your title and your
Mm.
name badge and that alone puts some kind of authority over people. And I don't think that people realize that sometimes, that you've got to really back up and say, not only do I have this economic power, but when I come in and I'm engaging and I'm interacting, everything that I say or do, every decision that I make is going to impact someone that I am leading. And it could be for the good, or unfortunately, sometimes it could be for the bad.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, think about kind of all of those sayings of like, well, I just don't understand why people don't come talk to me about this. Or,
Right.
well, this is what I said. How come they took it this way? And you're saying that there's that power differential, right? Like, whoa,
Mhm.
I could never talk to the CEO. I could never say that to my leader because
Yeah.
X, Y, and Z, and that's going on. So there's both those that abuse it, but let's not go there. Let's go
Yeah.
first to what if? we just hit somebody with the proverbial 2 by 4 Talibra, and they're like, "What? I never really thought about kind of my authority over somebody else's
Mhm.
life and how that might be impactful." So somebody just had
Yeah.
that big aha. Help guide us into, well, now what do I do? How do I get more self-aware around kind of this influence and this power that I might have, and what do I
Mhm.
need to start doing once I realize kind of the impact that I might have on somebody else?
Yeah, I'm going to go back a second because this is actually really common because people are getting put in positions as leaders because of their technical capability, right? And so a lot of the times they've been developed in the skill to perform the job, but they
Mm,
haven't been developed in people skills,
yeah,
right? And then this, right? You're a coach, you're in the leadership development space. Those competencies have to be taught.
yeah,
Right? They have to be taught to leaders because I may be a heck of a sales performer and just drive in revenue. But if I have no idea how to talk to my team or, engage in collaboration and understand that art, I'm going to struggle in leading people.
yeah,
So to be self aware means to go, what are those competencies when it comes to leading people? And then how do I go back and say, I'm going to get better at those? I'm going to put my personal development first, right? Lead first
mhm,
myself so that I can then lead others. And we just got to look at the checklist. Like if I know that communication could be a lost art for me as a leader, right? It's not my strength, then I might need to go and start putting some emphasis in my learning and development so that I can be a better leader for other people. So it's as simple as just knowing, hey, you know what? I kind of fall short in some of these areas. I'm now leading a team. And if I know I struggle, this is somehow going to impact the people that I'm with every single day. And I know that I've learned from failing moments as a
yeah.
leader before, and those were some of the most effective. But it doesn't have to be that way. I could have had some real moments of just saying, "Hey, I took on this new position. Now, how do I go and prepare so that I can be my best self for everyone?"
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you're really talking about going into this promotion that you got there because you achieved, no doubt. You were a
Right.
high performer, and now you are being tasked and asked to do something completely different by working
Mhm.
and building kind of influence and results through other people. And to be able to come at it and say, okay, good at sales. Okay, good at processes. Okay, good at coding, XYZ, whatever it is. And
Yeah.
what do I need to learn given the new responsibility that I'm taking on? I love that. I know one of the ways that I have always asked and hopefully driven some of that self awareness are questions, right? Questions like, "What do you need from me?
Right.
Where am I getting in the way? Where can I jump in and kind of remove a roadblock? Anything that starts to give me information that I don't see." Helps me become more aware of myself, situations. What are
Right.
some other things that we can do now that we know, okay, we've got a gap, we've moved from technical to leading people? What are some other
Mhm.
things that we can do to help kind of grow that self awareness of how we might be coming off and how we might be impacting other people?
Yeah, I mean, you hit it right on the money. That was going to be my next thing is you don't know what you don't know unless you ask the people that you're actually leading. And I think that some of my most memorable moments when I had to go back and say, okay, I need growth, I can tell, it came from the people that I was leading. When they would say, hey, when you are direct, it makes me feel this kind of way. So I had to learn, okay, tone really matters. Like I need to back that up a little bit, right? Now, sometimes it's hard, I'm not gonna lie, because you're hearing it and you're going, "What? I'm a great leader. Like, I don't need any work." But the reality is when you're leading people, there's things in each and every one of them that they need from you, and they can communicate that to you. So just asking the right questions of, "Hey, how do you want to be led? Talk to me about what effective communication looks like to you. Let me hear how you like to collaborate, or what does it look like when you're struggling through a problem? How do you want me to step in and help you resolve that? Or do you even want me to?" Those are the
Mhm.
types of things that help how you can be the best for other people because you do. You have this amazing impact with every way that you approach a situation.
And one of the things that I heard in there that was so cool and so critical is, uh, do you want me to engage in this problem? Right. And I
Yeah.
think even in that question, there's an acknowledgement of, your ability or your power to
Mhm.
resolve that. But what you did was you actually you put slash invited the other person to take kind of their own personal power, their own ownership of, no, this is something I can do myself. Talk about how leaders can do that and foster that, kind of empower their people, if you will.
Yeah, I used to tell my leaders all the time, I'd say, "Hey, when you hired that person, you believed in them 100%. When you saw the resume, you were sold on them." It's no different when I was looking at them. I saw all the potential in the world for them to grow. And so I think what you have to remember is that you hired them because you trusted them. You trusted them, and you're also going to have to realize they're going to need to, sometimes fail a little bit just so that they can figure it out. And it's not final. Failure is not final. And some people will disagree with me on that, but I absolutely believe that some of our best lessons are coming from the ones that have to learn from the hard way. And so I think when it comes down to like really empowering people, it's all about realizing, look, you hired them for a reason. Let them go and live out those skills that you were looking at from the very beginning and help them hone into it. And let them gain that self awareness on their own as well as you're kind of navigating that leadership.
Hmm. Okay, so we've been talking a little bit about the realization of it. So now that we are more aware of it, and you're saying, hey, part of our power as a leader is to actually allow others, right, to empower others, to self direct, to drive,
Right.
to have some autonomy, some agency in what we're doing. Let's flip it for a second. Let's say you and I, we're in an organization and we're looking over at Billy, and Billy
Yeah.
is not aware, and Billy is abusing his power, and Billy is turning people over faster than the restaurant industry can, and like it's not going well in Billy's area. Um, Maybe actually I report to Billy.
Mhm.
How do we start to do this? What are some things that I could do as a peer, as a leader, or even as a direct report that just starts to make people aware of how they may be coming off, especially not if it's in a good way.
Yeah. The one thing that I always think is so important is feedback. And it doesn't matter what role you're in to give the feedback. It matters how you deliver the feedback than anything else, right? So we talked about tone a little bit. We can talk about the verbiage. And, I'm a big fan of Crucial Conversations. It's one of my favorite books and one of the
Mhm.
favorite things I love to teach. And I do believe there is an approach to have it, whether you're having to lead up to your leader or you're having to lead parallel to a peer. It is important that we give feedback. People don't grow when our mouths are closed, right? And it's just like when your mom used to say, well, a closed mouth don't get fed. It's the same way with that learning leadership. You have got to be able to say, hey, I think you're an amazing leader, but when you did this, this is what happened. And I am not trying to tear you down. I just want to make you aware so that we can have a more collaborative, unified team. Total different approach than saying, when you did that, this happened, right?
Mm.
So that ability to help give them the feedback also helps them be self-aware. Now, some people might not be receptive to it right away, and it may take some time to let them get to that place, but eventually it will deposit and then it will flourish. I do believe that.
Yeah, and I just want to call out something that you did there, just on the fly for everybody that is watching or listening. When you use you language, you put them on the defensive,
Mhm.
and you used I language, right?
Yeah.
The I
Yeah.
language was the example. This is how I feel. This is what I need. This is what I'm seeing. Want to make you aware, right? Not the you did this, you did da, 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 da. Like, because you're gonna box people in, and if you are going up against an individual that might not be aware of how they're coming off, and they're kind of exerting their power for themselves, or unknowingly, kind of putting people in a place that they don't feel super comfortable in, the you language is going to put them way on the defensive,
Yeah.
and trigger that response that you're not liking what you're seeing anyway. So
Yeah.
Talybra gave us I language. Let's remember that as we keep going into that space. So we've been talking about really growing our self-awareness, kind of the
Mhm.
awareness of power. There's a great side of using that leadership power as well. right? It's kind of the
Mm,
old Spider-Man and biblical adage of with great power
right.
comes great responsibility, and it can go
Mhm.
well. It is not always this evil thing. Every single one of us has
Right.
agency and has power. Talk to us for those that are aware. We've got the correction now. How can we do this and lead with our power extremely well for the benefit of everybody involved?
I think the biggest thing to understand is, like you said, it's not this like superhero mentality, come save the day or authoritarian. It is absolutely used to make people, or not make, because I don't even want to use that word, but help people become the best versions of themselves. Our power was given to us so that we could lead people to becoming greater and hopefully greater than what we are as leaders, right? We want them to pass us. We want them to become the CEO if that's their dream, right? Or to become the pastor if that's their dream. But our job is not to go over them and say, you do this, you do that, or to um, give us a little bit of an ego, right?
Mhm.
It's really just to help them see the greatness that's inside of them. And I know that sounds maybe a little, cliche or whatever, but I truly believe it with all my heart that if you were using your power in a way that helped them pull out all of those gifts, it's going to do way more for you than what you ever could imagine. I truly believe that.
Mhm. Absolutely. When you use power, when you use your position, kind of what you
Mhm.
have for good, it grows other people. It brings back a tremendous amount of benefit to the team, to the
Mhm.
organization. So as we kind of move, what are our last pieces that we need to know to make sure that we keep kind of on track and aware? Kind of what's some of
Yeah.
that continuous tune up that we can do, and what does it look like for us to ultimately transfer that to build some self leading teams and grow people that are going to go beyond us.
I think once you're self aware, right, it's you're aware of the things that impact other people, or maybe about some habits that you have in your leadership that could affect the trust of a team or whatever that may be. I think the next step in that emotional intelligence phase is self regulation, right?
Hmm.
We find the ways to channel it so that we can be the best versions of ourselves for our team. And I think it has the trickle down and the domino effect so that you can be a high performing team. You can achieve your goals. You can overcome and be adaptable in challenging situations when you are just more self aware. And so, I don't think we should look at self-awareness and go, "Oh my gosh, like I just have all these things." We don't want to adopt all that. We want to look at the things that are also great about us, right? What do
Hmm.
you really have that when it's at its highest peak has the greatest influence and the greatest impact on the team, and being able to drive that in a way that's going to be positive on both ends. So I don't know if that answers the question, but I just think it's self-awareness, it's self-regulation,
Yeah.
and then honestly it's about empowering the team to be the best things that you saw in them in the beginning.
Yeah, it's one thing to know; it's a completely other thing to do. And I'm sitting here kind of reflecting on my own kind of journey and on some of the stuff that we teach and tell people. And you have walked us through self awareness, others awareness, and regulation. Just in the last 20 minutes. And I always think, and I hope they're helpful for those that are kind of thinking through this. How am I thinking, feeling, acting, kind of in this situation? How might
Hmm.
somebody else be thinking, feeling, acting? And then given who I am, how I want to be, what is required of me right now, right? And that's kind of my own personal regulation question is like, okay, I've got this goal, I've got this mission, I've got this team, I've got these principles. Given all of that, given the situation, what is required, right? And it just felt like you walked us right through that all the way from nuts to bolts there. So thank you, Talibra, for doing that.
Absolutely. And just one small thing I will say is that always assume positive intent.
Mm,
I don't think anybody ever intends to trigger you, right?
yeah.
So I think if you can just get your mind wrapped around that, it typically makes it a lot easier to have the conversations and to overcome things. So
We all have the power to assume positive intent whenever we
Yeah.
want to. That's
Yeah.
awesome. I love it. So before we go, and before people run to connect with you, wherever you point us to connect, I ask everybody that comes on, Talybra, what does it mean to you to lead well?
I kind of said it, but for me to lead well, I want to see people become better. I want to see them become who they're called to be.
Mm,
I truly believe that I've been put on this earth to be a leader of leaders. And so if I can see them excelling in that, I think that I'm doing everything that I am called to do.
I love it. That is awesome. We are leading well when we're in our sweet spot, getting others to grow in theirs and developing leaders. Thank you, Talibra. Where can
Absolutely.
folks go and connect with you on social, website, work with you, all of that? Where would you point us?
The easiest way to find me because of my unique name is on LinkedIn. So I'm going to push everybody that direction. I always share tidbits there. We have a book club that we do that's open to community. So if you will follow me, it's Talybra, last name Hollins, Hollins. And LinkedIn is probably the best way to get in connection with me.
Talibra puts some fantastic stuff on LinkedIn. I follow her there. We will put it in the show notes. Everybody, thank you for joining us. Talibra, thank you for being here. Make sure that you go out and that if you're sitting there kind of second guessing, how might I be coming off? Am I using all this power for good? Uh, Go ask a question today and start the process, just like Talibra laid out for you. And until next time, my friends, be well, lead on, and God bless.